Glad you could join us today. Just want to introduce myself. I am Drew Robb, your AI advisor at ERP Suites. I've been with ERP Suites for 5 years now. First started in the product space, then moved into more of a data analytics, data consulting role, and then from there ventured into this wonderful world of AI. And been in that role for about 2 years now. And my primary focus is really education. Going to user groups and conferences and presenting on AI. Because the biggest thing with AI is not just building out products and services, but really being AI advisors and helping you along the way with whatever your journey may be. You may be beginning your steps into AI, may just start thinking about tools and technologies used, maybe some different use cases you're thinking about that you may see this week as well, um, and just other various technologies that we will explore today. But wherever you're starting, our team and others can get you there. And really, it's all about just getting started and really starting to implement it into your business. So, with that, we're gonna move into some more foundational things with AI. So, quick agenda today. First, we'll start off from ground zero. What is AI? Kind of what is important? Why is it important? What's the value of it? And then we'll move into really the AI for the enterprise, right? And with that, even talk about JD Edwards using orchestration and really the power with orchestration combined with AI, and get into that. We'll also go into various tools and services at a very high level. Now, there are a lot of sessions this week that will talk more about these specific tools and services and to go a lot more detail as far as demos. I might highlight a few, but definitely be on the lookout for that. And if you have any questions about other sessions, and if you want to learn more about a certain tool or service or certain type of AI, I guarantee it will be on the agenda at some point this week. And then lastly, the biggest thing is how to get started. How can you get started on your AI journey? And as far as ERP Suites is concerned, we want to be advisors. We have a lot of tools and technologies out there to get you started, but it's really all about starting the discovery process, right? Start thinking about those various use cases and ways you can implement these tools in your business. So just really tailoring that and understanding AI for the enterprise is probably the most important thing here. So with that, we'll move forward. So what is AI? Just a real quick high level, what is AI, right? It's really just technology that enables computers and machines to stimulate humans' intelligence and problem solving. Now, again, that's just a baseline definition, right? But it covers a lot of different tools and frameworks, different applications. At ERP Suites, we like to integrate with JD Edwards. So right now we're using OCI, but we have also explored in the cloud of AWS and Azure as well. It's really just about finding your best fit. What really fits you guys as far as tools and technologies? As far as I can tell you, and we'll get into it later, some tools are further along than others, and how we've kind of utilized different things. We'll go into that further. But it's really just understanding that even though AI has been around for a very long time, it's really in the past just 2 or 3 years really starting to make headway into our lives, especially in the enterprise. And again, it's become more readily available than ever, right? So we talk about ChatGPT, other large language models out there, digital assistants, chatbots, and more than anything, it's really just understanding that it's becoming more easier to use. You really don't need a data scientist in your organization to start using it. Yes, you need some underlying baseline education, but these tools are becoming easier to use and becoming more streamlined and easier to understand. So I think that's the most important thing to understand about today. That although AI covers a lot of broad areas, we're going to help you understand how to really start implementing AI into the enterprise today. So with that, we'll go a little bit further. I just wanted to highlight just a few of these, right? And we'll really break these down further and how they apply to enterprise later on. But you probably heard of machine learning, deep learning, really predictive analytics, and really talking about how to build off of just not just automating certain processes, but how to start making predictions inside of your data, right? And starting to do forecasting, budgeting, things along that nature is definitely something we're exploring in the enterprise, as well as digital assistants and natural language processing. It's becoming easier, for example, not just writing queries to understand data, but actually using digital assistants to understand your data and using natural language, human interpretations to actually perform tasks and ask questions about your data. So all of that is becoming more relevant and easily accessible. Computer vision. So this one's interesting, and we'll go into this a little bit further with some examples. But it's really being able to read images, documents, text, start to understand that side of thing to actually gain data from not just a structured data source, right? It's really that unstructured data. How can we make it readily available and actually upload it and import it into our certain data services so we can glean insights off of it? The bottom two I just wanted to highlight again because they're thrown around a lot. Machines performing task autonomy, so robotics processing is another very big one, and as well as augmented and virtual reality. Again, just generating environments, blend reality. You've probably seen those with VR headsets. But the biggest thing with those two is they're just, going through exploring them with that my team. It's not as prevalent in the enterprise today, especially in the work that you guys probably do day in and day out. But just wanted to highlight it as a potential type of AI as well. This one, I'm going to have a visual behind it, but these are just some other terminologies. So generative AI. So it's really the way to produce types of different content. And we kind of mentioned it with vision via text, imagery, audio, synthetic data, feeding that into a large language model and actually be able to understand the sequence tags and grab data from that. So retrieval augmented generation is a big word that we use, and it's really just understanding via natural processing, grabbing documents from, grabbing data from documents, whether it be manufacturing documents. We've run a few RAG models and large language models with financial statements is another big one. And just trying different things, but really harnessing that generative AI solution. One of the biggest things about RAG is really just the improved data quality and relevance of generated responses. So if you think about it this way, a lot of times in day-to-day lives, what people are really using is stuff such as ChatGPT 3 or 4, other open source large language models. What RAG really does for you is it actually connects to your enterprise data sources, whether that be JD Edwards, an Oracle database, other third party sources that might be in a CRM or other sources like that. It actually connects the large language model to those to actually train and get accurate data from those. So I'm going to real quickly just walk through so you guys can kind of see what retrieval augmentation looks like. And then later on, we'll kind of talk how we're using it currently in our business. But first, let's really just talk about the query. So when we talk about the query on that left-hand side, that's coming from a customer. Now, this query, as you can think about it, it's not actually SQL. It's more of a natural language response. Like, what is my inventory count for item number 220 or something along those lines? Just think of that as like high level. That's what it would be. From there, we actually get that response and we look at various knowledge base embeddings. So I mentioned JD Edwards, Oracle databases, other uploaded files, financial documents, even. And it will look at those various different things, refine the query based off prior input, and that being other input from other users, right? It can learn off historical data, run that natural language processing with connected to the LLM, and really the LLM is where it will learn from that historical data, connect to that LLM, and then send the response back to the user. That's very readily understandable, and again, natural language, right? Easy to understand. And again, with sending and training these models, these LLM models, it will become smarter as more data becomes readily available. But again, going back to that point before, it's very secure when we start to connect these large language models rather than open source models that I talked about earlier. So with that, I want to jump forward here to AI for the enterprise. And now this is what want you guys to really focus on, how we're starting to integrate this in the enterprise. So it's really what we really need to focus on is those business challenges. You start at those pain points in your business. It's really the discovery. One thing that we've really at ERP Suites that we're noticing is improving customer service, whether that's getting a digital assistant to a territory sales manager or a customer service rep is able to run through training material via a Gen AI model. It's really just about enhancing those business challenges that you're currently facing. So the biggest part is understanding and discovering where those problems arise in your business. Secondly, it relies heavily on your data. And I have it, and it's pretty obvious, but it's really all about the data is clean and secure. You don't want to just implement an AI model or an AI solution without really going back and looking at your master data setup or any other data that you want to connect that model to, right? Whether it's your data inside of JD Edwards, as I said before, or the third party data source, an Oracle database, something you're pulling just as economic data online. It can all be pulled in, but if it's not clean and secure, then the enterprise solution will fail to produce good results, complete results. Next, we'll move on to repetitive task and workflows. That's the biggest thing. It's really starting AI with those repetitive tasks, starting from ground zero. You'll probably hear it a lot this week, the crawl, walk, run method. Start with automating processes, then move more towards a predictive analytic, predictability, and then eventually autonomous ERP. But it's all about starting with one simple process and automating that solution. And then again, seamless integration. We'll talk about a little bit further of how we're using OCI tools with orchestration to make it seamless, easy to understand, readily available, all those sorts of things. That's the biggest thing is you can use a variety of different AI tools, but if the integration in the connection between them all is not seamless, then one, it could cost a lot of money, and two, it could cause some latency when you're talking from one mile to another. So those are just some examples there. But really just highlighting these 4 points is kind of where you want to target enterprise AI when you're first starting out. Now, enterprise AI use cases, I kind of just listed here and I want to talk through a few. So with OCI Vision, so when I say vision, again, this is more just reading documents. So when I talk about this, it's about reading expense reports. It's about reading sales orders. It's about reading trying to think of some other off the top of my head, but it's about reading those documents and gaining insights from those. One other area that Vision's good with is anomaly detection. So with that, you can read images of products, right? You send a product through. One example I like to do is just say a part of a pulley is sent through. What it will do is when you can train it enough, it will actually understand if a pulley is complete or defective, and then it will save that data as well. And you can continuously train on various images with these various models, and it will understand those images better, and learn from them. The second was I kind of mentioned before was RAG, right? It's the ability to really, whether you're connecting to a digital system, which we'll talk about later, or just reading various documents, owners manuals, financial documents, economic resource documents out there that you want to pull in. RAG's just very important. Customer training documents, another one I mentioned. RAG's just really important to kind of that baseline. You want to get quick knowledge. We can connect these to a digital assistant, but that's kind of where those start. Machine learning, again, that's predictability. Whether that be predictability for doing financial forecasting or budgeting, or predicting, MRP processes or sales order when an order is going to potentially arrive. Just think of it that these are all sorts of things we can start to think about. And then anomaly detection is kind of with what I mentioned before with the vision, but it goes beyond that. It's actually anomaly detection inside of your JD Edwards system or other systems, being able to identify duplicates and get rid of them or identify outliers. It's just really important to understand these key features and how we can start to implement them. So with that, especially with ERP Suites, we have two AI implementation methods we really look at and kind of migrating all these together. Because again, we want seamless integration and seamless solutions. So with the digital assistants, just kind of high end, we worked on a few here, but again, it really comes from those various use cases talking with customers. So one, we actually had a presentation earlier today was on a manual manufacturing digital assistant, which is moving work orders to various work centers. Think of that as more of like we talked about earlier, that automating the workflow. So with those digital assistants, it's more about automation. Moving data from JD Edwards, or getting data from JD Edwards, putting data back into JD Edwards, or vice versa, doing it for other data sources. We could also think of digital assistants as pulling data from a database. And what I mean by that is running that natural language processing to run SQL queries. Now, running natural language processing, but pulling data from, just the pool, like what is my inventory count for company B, C, D. Just think of it that way. And just various other areas. Now, the thing about digital assistants is you can have one digital assistant that can do multiple things. So you can have a manufacturing digital assistant that may look at work order processing, or one that may look at MRP messages and processing. It's really all about the security and role-based security with digital assistants that makes it so powerful. You can even have a financial digital assistant that can do multiple different things. It's just the way we set it up to access it with customers, with the security. We'll get into that a little bit now, kind of explain how that security works and how we kind of implement that seamlessly. But just wanted to give high level just examples of digital assistants and how they're so impactful. And think of, you think of chatbots in the past, they're kind of robotic. These digital assistants, they can do many different things. So think of it as being multi-channel, but at the same time, they're more conversational. It doesn't feel like you're talking to a robot. So just think of it that way when you think of digital assistants and other examples. The second one's really embedded AI. And specifically with JD Edwards, what we're focusing on is actually embedding these AI capabilities and solutions inside of your JD Edwards applications. What this empowers you to do is to go back to standard or vanilla, as we say, and not do as many customizations inside of your JD Edwards environment. That's the biggest thing that I really want to highlight here. With these digital assistants and with this embedded AI, we're enhancing your JD Edwards experience, right? And we were trying to make it better. We're not trying to, overtake it and whatnot. We're just trying to help you out here. And again, there's a lot of sessions this week that we can show you how embedded AI solutions and our digital assistants have enhanced customer satisfaction and various other avenues. One quick embedded AI example that I want to talk about is really just sales order entry, and it's really just being able to have a button on your JD Edwards environment, right, at the P4210, being able to click that button, upload a sales order, right? It sends all the correct information in and then embeds that actual document that you upload directly in the JD Edwards. So again, all the work's done inside of JD Edwards, just enhanced with these AI tools. So I just wanted to give that real quick example for you guys to help you understand why we kind of chose these two, the digital assistant and the embedded AI, for our initial solutions with the customers we talked to. And then moving on, and this is the biggest thing, and I've mentioned it in the past, it's really all about the orchestrations, right? And leveraging orchestrations with AI. Because especially with that digital assistant examples, orchestrations have the ability to connect the backend systems, really do all the heavy lifting, getting data from JDE, updating JDE, right? Making additions to JD Edwards or other sources, right? And again, we go to orchestration because it's so, it's easy to understand, seamless. But really doing the heavy lifting is the AI and ML tools, right? The heavy lifting of analyzing the data, understanding the data, the historical data that you might put into these tools, and really understanding what to do with it. And in the end, that really creates intelligent ERP, right? The one thing I want you guys to understand, though, is even though these AI tools and ML tools are very important, it's good to understand, and what we like to reference is there has to be this human in the loop aspect. No matter what, these data and these models and these tools are only as good as we make them. And we really need the subject matter experts to understand the process that we picked for various use case and be along that journey and actually implementing this solution. Because that's the only way the solutions are going to get better in the future. So again, what I want to really highlight here, we talked a lot about the OCI AI services with orchestration. I wanted to highlight that 9.2.8.2 and JD Edwards is really when you get that authentication piece with these various services. Below, just real quickly highlighting the Gen AI we kind of talked about with the RAG. So these are OCI services. So the Gen AI we kind of talked about, the RAG, running those large language models, having the ability to connect the large language model to a digital assistant is one thing we're also looking at as well. Running those Gen AI agents. There's another session actually later this week. I believe it's Thursday on Code Assist. Now, this is a very cool tool because it helps developers start to develop and test code um, running through Code Assist and keep repositories of that. Now, with Code Assist, one thing that we've started to look at, especially with leveraging orchestration to work with a lot of these AI tools, is leveraging Code Assist to actually perform, capabilities and actually build out orchestrations as well. We talked about digital assistants as another big one in the enterprise. Speech and language, just recognizing speech and determining languages, not so much prevalent in the enterprise world, but and then we talked vision and document understanding earlier. So with that, I just want to pull up just a few notable AI tools. As you can see, I've highlighted a few. So just OpenAI's ChatGPT, ChatGPT-4. We talked about earlier about the importance of using RAG with large language models to have enterprise data connected to that. So what I kind of showed here with that second highlight is our ability to connect our digital assistant to a Cohere large language model. And with that, it's a more enterprise model. It's actually an OCI one, backed by OCI or Oracle. So it's more in the enterprise. It's not as open source. It's more secure is what I'm getting at there. Anthropic Claude is actually a machine learning large language model we played around with, where it actually creates dashboards for you. We have a presentation later this week on smarter analytics, where we actually utilize this tool to create some great dashboards around some warehouse analysis and sales analysis as well. And now I have a few other listed here: LangChain, orchestration AI tools we've been playing around a little bit with, and then Oracle Digital Assistant and Gen AI for OCI. And now what I really wanted to get to is how you get started. How can you get started? I know I gave you a lot of information. I know you may have questions. Reach out if you still want some more education around this. But really, I want you to know where you guys currently at on your AI journey. So, what we've heard a lot from customers is a lot of times they want us to implement they want to implement AI, but they don't really know how. Two, they're not getting enough buy-in from their executives to do a 8-month, 9-long process of actually implementing an AI solution, which it could take that long to flesh out some of these higher end solutions. So what's really important is what we kind of coined as our quick win AI engagement. Now, what this take is more of a condensed version of our AI journey, which I'll talk about later. It's really just defining that use case development. And I have steps for building an AI use case as another session tomorrow. But it's really talking about discovery phase, discovering what are your biggest pain points. How can you start to manipulate them in your business? How can AI, what is AI, what is not AI solution? That's another big part of this as well. The second is picking one single process to start to implement. I talked about the sales order one, right? That one, just uploading sales documents in the JD Edwards. I talked about the customer training one with customer training, HR support documents. And then secondly, the phase two is very important. So when you pick that single process, you still want to make sure your data is clean, readily available, and your security is good, right? When we talk about the authentication with OCI with JD Edwards is the end-to-end authentication there, mixed with JD Edwards role-based security. But again, when you pick that one specific use case or process, your JD Edwards security and data is easier to kind of enhance or fix, right? If need be, right? If your master data management isn't good for work order movement and work centers, we can just focus on that and start to implement that specific solution. And then lastly is really just deliver the solution, develop that single win, quick win solution. So the executives and upper level management people in your business can start to understand quick ROI with the AI solutions. As well as you can start promoting usability and change management in your company and start to readily invest in AI. So again, this is just a quick win engagement, talking to customers. What we're hearing out there in the ecosystem is really just quick discovery, data security, cleansing, and then delivering. So with that, I wanted to give you a few things to go away with. So at ERP Suites, we have an AI scorecard. What this is a online self-assessment that you would go to, and you would assess yourselves on different things, such as where are you at with certain use cases, where's your security at? Where's your data at? Are people in your business very educated on AI? Do they have a strong knowledge on it? Are they starting to accept it? Usability. Can they adopt it? Or are we still feeling a little skittish about it? It's a self-assessment you guys would do, and then we'll have an initial discovery conversation that we talked about earlier. Understand where you are and how we could tailor an AI journey to fit your needs. And then lastly, we'll reassess you. But again, it's all about determining that customer knowledge and AI readiness to make sure we can enhance how you operate and how your AI journey goes. Um, and then with that, just wanted to end on this: what to do next. So I talked about the AI scorecard. There's a more comprehensive AI journey we have out there as well on a 10-week starter guide. But it's really about promoting conversation, really just starting to educate yourself out there, especially with events like this, like AI Week, and starting to understand and starting to think, are the possible? That's the biggest thing. Just are the possible? Where can we take AI by just starting from square one, though? So as you can see, I have the ERPSuites.com/AI listed. We have a lot of good content as well on our site. Feel free to reach out and talk to us as well. But I hope this session was, impactful. I hope it got you guys started. And again, if you want to sit down, have a conversation with me and the team, just let me know. With that, any questions? No questions? Sounds good. Well, feel free to reach out. My email is there if you guys have any questions on these topics. Would love to have a conversation with you. Yeah, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and a good rest of the AI week.